All right, everybody. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to OneObjective tonight. Guys, we got a really great show lined up for you like we always do. But first, Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
We're doing good.
You having a good weekend? We went out and enjoyed a good lunch today.
Oh, yeah, it was real good.
Just the pre-wedding ceremonies, I guess,
Yeah.
kicking off.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, they were good. It's been a while since we actually got out and had just a good feast, shall we say. We always do wings. That's always me and Chris's thing. We normally cook them here, though.
Oh, yeah.
We don't go eat nobody else's wings, but this time we did.
We made an exception this time.
Yeah. So, anyways, getting ready, Chris. I mean, it ain't gonna be long. You can be tying a knot, man. You only got a couple more days to be a free man.
Yeah, it ain't much longer. Is it?
No. So,
Looking forward to it.
yeah, that's right. You got you a good woman, man. You should be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
At least we got to say that right now. We're on live, so she's probably watching. I'm just kidding, Brittany. He's got a great woman. But guys, like I said, we got a great show lined up for you guys. I mean, we're gonna have Josh Little on. He's gonna be going over some fall fishing. Josh has if you go and just follow him on Facebook and just look at the pictures of big fish this guy's caught. He has got he's able to find some big ones, and like he's also got a record for, I think it's a particular lake or river or system, something like that. I want to talk to him a little bit about that. I think it was last year when he caught that. But before we kind of get into all of that, also he's going to be talking about the dugout tournament that's starting up in October 1st. I want to add that. We'll talk a little bit about that just in a minute. Before we get going, though, I want to thank some really great sponsors that's helped us out, that has been with us for a while and that support us. They're like family to us. I really want to thank some really great sponsors. But Bob's Up the Creek Outfitters, if you've never visited Bob's Up the Creek Outfitters, if you're in the kayak market, you definitely need to reach out to Bob. He also sells some fishing tackle as well. But like I say, if you're into kayak and kayak accessories, he's a dealer for us. He's also a sponsor of our show. He sponsors our segment for our in-depth segment. But he's got 2 locations, one in Moneta and one in Amherst, Virginia. So make sure you go check them out. Also, Falcon Rods, Missile Baits, Baino Power, and Yak Attack. Guys, I want y'all need to go check them out. Like I say, if you're in the market to rigging your kayak, between Baino and Yak Attack, they got you covered when you're trying to motorize and when you're trying to put your accessories on there. Also, when it comes to fishing, it's hard to beat a Falcon rod. I've loved them. We've been using them for a while. I've gotten Chris to using Falcon rods. He really likes them.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like I say, Missile Baits. It's hard to beat one of the best-selling soft plastic baits out there, in my opinion. They might not be the best overall to everybody else. Maybe, I don't know. But from my opinion, they're the best-selling soft plastic baits out there. So I just love Missile Baits. They got a really great selection and just some really great colors. And they just, like I say, they flat out catch them, man. They're a good bait. So, but anyways, like I say, we're going to kind of get into the show tonight. I know it's been a couple weeks, Chris? 2 weeks, something like that?
2 weeks, yeah.
We were going to try to put something together last week, and just everything fell apart, like between stuff going on and all this. Everything was just falling apart, so we weren't able to get the show going. So, but anyways, me and James, I know a lot of people have seen on our Facebook and all that. We ended up going and picking up 2 brand new Hobie PA-14s from Dugout Baits down in Georgia. Like I say, I just was blown away at the facility that Dugout Baits has down there. They are just it's phenomenal, man. Just like the rigging they do, the baits they have. It's a one-stop shop for if you're in the Hobie market and want to, if you're into fishing, bass boat fishing, whatever, they got you covered. They ain't just kayak related. And a lot of you guys that live down in that area know that they're more than that. And we'll get Josh on. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if you've seen in the video too, of everything that they have and carry and do, supplying bait fish, supplying crickets, supplying worms, I just know they had all that down there. So it was pretty cool to see all that and talk with Jamie and Josh and the whole crew down there. He's got a really great bunch of people that work for him, which makes, when you got good people working with you, it makes a great business. So, but anyways, yeah, I had a good time. I have completely fallen in love with the Hobie, like flat out. I have been in, the Bonafide, the Natives. We've tested the Crescents. We've tested Old Towns. And I'm not knocking none of them. I'm not knocking not one of them boats. I think they all are great, and for whatever certain situations, they all got a time and place. And I mean, I can't knock none, but we've been able to have an opportunity to test a lot of different boats and different pedal drive systems and all that, and just I don't know, the Hobies felt great to us, set up great for us and how we fish and the 360 drive and all that. I don't know, it was just and like it's just the storage that they have for the rod storage and stuff like that. I just really fell in love with that boat and excited to get ready for the 2022 season and just get going. I mean, we're going to be getting our feet wet with the dugout tournament, which is we'll be talking a little bit more about that in the states that it covers, and just kind of getting our feet wet, getting back into the tournament scene. We haven't done no tournaments all year long. Now, I don't think we fished one tournament. I think I got into 1 month long for the Save JT tournament.
Yeah.
That was it. And I got to go like fishing one time.
What's wrong with you?
During that month. I don't know, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. So, well, we're gonna hit it next year. We're not exactly sure what tournament series we're gonna fish. I don't know if we're gonna fish the Hobie. I don't know if we're gonna fish the bass. I don't know what we're gonna fish yet. But both of them up in there. We're just gonna look at the schedules and see what schedule sets up for us and is best for us. So I'm just gonna go from there and see. But I'm excited to get out there. I want to put some fish on this catch board. I've put one fish on that catch board since I've got it one.
I like that one Jason Hensley got.
For the Save JT tournament, they want to catch it. That was a nice board.
Nice board.
Yeah, they did a really great job on personalizing those boards for everyone. You know what I mean? They did well in those tournaments. And Jason and Casey and all of them, man, they did a heck of a job putting some numbers on the board, on that. So, but yeah, Catch did a really good job on that. Congratulations on you guys and producing, just a good product. Catch is number one when it comes to fish measuring and all that stuff in the tournament series. It used to be the what is that one plastic board we had? The hog trough.
Hog trough, yeah.
And it was so easy to manipulate the board, from bending it to cutting it to doing so many different things to it. And then they broke all the time. You had to have like 2 or 3 in the boat with you if you were going to be serious about fishing tournaments and all. It just wasn't a great product. So Catch has done a really good job with that. So, Chris, what time we got?
7 after.
7 after?
Casey wants to know if you signed up for Dugout Monthly.
Yes, I have. I've signed up for it.
Craig Brashear says, "What's up, peeps?
What's going on, Craig? How you doing tonight, man? Thank y'all. I thank y'all for joining in too. Let us know where y'all listening from. I mean, I know a lot of you guys do it all the time. We're on here. Also, please give it a thumbs up. Share it if you don't mind on your page right now. That'd be great, so we can get more people in here. And we ask some questions for Josh and let more people know about this dugout tournament that's coming up. It's a lot of good, awesome things they're going to be doing with this tournament. Giveaways and stuff like that. It ain't just, oh man, that guy dominated all month long. He's going to be the winner. No, they're doing so much with this tournament. It's limited to states, so I'm going to travel to North Carolina. Luckily, where our shop is at, we're not far from the North Carolina border, so we can fish a few water systems there, different rivers and lakes, and then I'll probably be making a few trips to Bugs Island and fishing that as well. So, and trying to compete in it. So, I don't know how much fishing I'll be able to get done. I hope a lot more. I don't fall in love with this Hobie, so I want to be on it all the time. So, can't say so much about the Titan when I was out there. I liked the Titan. It was a great boat. I just hated, man, it just got so wet all the time. Yeah, so it just wasn't, I didn't like it. And you know how
I
we
didn't
are.
think they made one any bigger than that until I saw the Hobie.
Yeah. That's a big boat.
Yeah, it is.
And it's wide, man. And if you look at the Titan and you look at the Hobie, they almost look, the Hobie looks wider, but I think what it is just the gunnels. Like the native has thicker gunnels, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As the Hobie's got smaller gunnels, so I mean your deck space is huge.
Yeah.
But the storage system, like just having the piece in the middle there, you know what I mean? That was just to have the junk drawer there. Like I can put my keys, my phone, I can put tackle. I mean, I can put so much right there that I don't need a whole lot in my black pack. I got my black pack, but I don't even have a lot in it.
Can you reach it from sitting there?
Oh yeah.
Looks like it's like a mile away from you when you look back on it.
Yeah, no, I mean I got it sitting right now. Turn right.
Put 2 black packs on there.
I know. There'd be a lot of tackle in there. But we got some rigging ideas, man. We're gonna have a lot of videos coming out here soon for some rigging stuff we're gonna be doing the Hobies. We're excited about it. We got some test videos we're gonna be doing here soon.
Yeah.
Just really excited about that.
Craig says, congrats and thank you to OneObjective for supporting the 17th annual TKAA charity tournament.
Oh yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Craig. I should have. I meant to write that down in my notes. I was scrambling to get on here and get all my notes for everything. So we ended up helping sponsor the TKA charity event. Craig, let us know in the comments how many y'all had in that. I can't. I seen somebody post something about how many people were in it, but let us know in the bottom there how many people actually participated in that tournament. I'm curious, but we had a couple people reach out to us on email, or somebody reach out to us on email for the gift certificate already. So got to reach out to them tomorrow and get that redeemed. Also, we got a few things we're in the works for next year. We're kind of taking on with some more sponsorship deals. Getting excited about that. Possibly dabbling in with a few more people coming on the team.
All right.
So Craig's on our team. We actually Josh Little we're going to have on here in just a second. He's on our team as well. So, but you can go on our Facebook OneObjectiveBF.com and see who's all on our team and all that. So we've got a really great group of people, and they really help us push One Objective out there. They do a great job with it. So I really want to thank all our people we got. How many say we got in there?
What?
On Craig. I see Craig's
125.
125. Man, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good event.
It.
So congratulations, y'all, on that, man. That's really awesome. So, anyways, what time we got? We can get Josh.
11
on
after time to call him.
Let's call Josh. We're a minute late.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Uh-oh. What happened?
I don't know. Skype's being weird right now. Why is it being weird?
I have no idea. Well, Chris is going to work on that little bit problem. I'll kind of go in.
Okay.
Oh God.
All
What happened?
I'm gonna have to close it out and start it. Hold on, let me start it back over.
Okay. All right. Well, while Chris is getting all that set up, I want to talk a little bit about this weekend with my son and racing. And doesn't want to do anything.
I didn't want to call him. Why isn't that?
Having a little bit of technical difficulties. It's all right. It's okay.
It just makes a little noise and it didn't do nothing else.
Yeah.
It worked fine a while ago.
Can we get Josh to call into us through Skype? I don't know if it'll work that way.
I don't know if he can do that or not.
We'll go figure.
Well,
Chris, I'll let you work on that a little bit. I'm gonna tell my little story about this weekend with my son karting. So everybody knows that follows along knows that I got my son into go-kart racing, and like I said before, if Chris gets him on, I'll finish this story up towards the end there. But God darn it! But anyways, so go down to State Line Speedway. Matthew's all ready to get going. We recorded this as well. We got a YouTube channel called Carter Racing Motorsports. If you want to check that out, you can. But that's just kind of like behind the scenes of us go-kart racing and his progression and all that stuff. But anyways, long story short, Matthew ends up getting caught up in 2 horrendous wrecks. And I mean, I'm proud of his driving ability has gotten really well. Our tire program has gotten really well. But I'm going to tell you what, I have never been so frightened in all my life as when I watched him get in those 2 big wrecks this weekend. And he's a trooper, man. He was still ready to go. He's got the adrenaline drive, I guess. So, like, he's ready to go and race. And I was just...
See if he can call us. It says he's active. See if he's listening.
Okay. All right. Josh, if you're listening, see if you can call us.
It's not letting me do nothing.
For some reason, our Skype is...
It worked fine a while ago.
Being crazy right now. It ain't opened up somewhere else, is it?
No.
Close it all up?
No, because it usually makes that little noise when when we're calling somebody. It's just making a little...
Let's see.
Bubble noise, whatever you want to call it, and then it just doesn't work. I've closed it out and opened it back up, and it still don't work.
Huh. So anyways, long story short, he got in a massive wreck. He's okay. Cart is not in great shape. Chris, you've seen it today.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I don't know. I think we're done for the season. We got a lot of work to do to that thing. So, but I'm super proud of him. Oh, look, Josh, what's going on, bud?
Not a whole lot. What's up?
Oh, not much, man. Hey, man, I don't know what's going on our Skype. We were trying to call you. It's just been going goofy all of a sudden. We've never had that problem.
Yeah, I'll cause that sometimes. So.
Yeah. I mean, our shows have gotten so good there for a while. We didn't have no technical difficulties there for a while, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden, boom, here we
call
are.
Out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always got to disturb something.
Yeah. Well, it ain't I say it ain't a perfect show not unless we have some kind of issue go on. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you can never have. It's just hard to have a good show. It's got to be perfect. So we got to have at least one issue going on when it comes to technology. But anyways, let's get past that. You're here now. So, but how you been doing, Josh? I know we tried to get out on the water lately. I know, like I say, y'all just bought some land. Y'all going to build a house. I mean, have you had the time to get out on the water?
Yeah, I generally try to get out on water every week, regardless.
Yeah.
That's kind of my getaway and release, but then also fish tournaments and stuff like that. But I was actually fishing the Bulldog division yesterday with the Major League Fishing, the Phoenix Five. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, yesterday and today was the last 2 days. It was a super tournament. You had to qualify on day one to fish day two, and I missed the cut by 14 ounces.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they take the top, I think, top 20%, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fell short of it. So, but I ended up, for the total year, I ended up in 36th place.
Oh, wow.
Out of all 5 of the tournaments. So, reading what was online through the MLF division as far as the tournaments go, that should qualify me for the regionals. So,
yeah,
if that's the case, then the tournament is, I believe, a 2 or 3 day tournament on the St. Johns River in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that'll be in October.
Oh, nice.
So just waiting to hear back. But I believe they take the top 45 from every region, and that's how they put together the regionals.
Yeah.
So.
And on that I don't know what they call it now, but it used to be called the All-American. They still call it the All-American?
So you actually have to qualify in the regionals to go to the All-American.
Yep. Yeah.
And to qualify for the All-American, you got to place in the top 6.
Yeah.
So
I know we used to fish the BFLs back here. Me and James did, and making the regionals and then trying to qualify for the All-American. That's what everybody wants to do.
Oh yeah.
So
this is my first year doing it. So. A lot of fun, completely different experience, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Now, when it comes to, you're big in the kayak side. You know what I mean? You're running a Hobie. You run a couple different brands. You got deep into the kayaking thing, and fishing a bass boat tournament and all that. I mean, what is your comparison? I mean, it's 2 different atmospheres. It's 2 different things. You know what I mean? Like you're going from inches to pounds and. It's different scenarios, but I mean, what is your take on it? Do you like doing that a little bit more than kayaking, or, what's your thoughts?
To be honest with you, I think I like a blend between the 2. I think I would prefer to go out on a bass boat a couple times a month, and then also the kayak a couple times a month, because there's more water that I can access that I can't from a bass boat.
Yeah.
Especially some of the rivers around here. But I mean, I enjoy the camaraderie that's on the kayak side more so than on the boat side, and I think it's just because it's not there.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but that's just what I've experienced. Most of the time, it's not as open as the kayak side of things.
Yeah.
So I like both sides. I enjoy it. I would say that it's not one of those where after fishing, I'm like, yeah, that's not for me, because I enjoy it. It allows me, especially fishing from the back of someone's boat, allows me to try out different things, try different areas that we normally don't go to, because we are limited to a kayak and certain things. Yesterday, we probably ran to at least 15 to 20 different spots, and we covered anywhere from the north end all the way down to the dam and then back up. And Lake Lanier is rather large.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't do that in a kayak in one day.
Yeah.
So it opened up a lot of different areas that when I go back there in a kayak, as far as like on a kayak tournament, that gave me more water to look at and say, okay, hey, I've never fished here, but after seeing it, it's like this may be something that I could go to at the next tournament and say, okay, I know I can pull some fish out of there, kind of deal.
Exactly.
So,
well, I think too, on the kayaking side and the bass boat side, like I say, it makes you a more rounded angler. So understanding breaking down water in a kayak and understanding, you can't move, like I say, you can't run around. So you break down water, you fish things a little more thoroughly. You learn different baits. You know what I mean? So when you do get over in the bass boat side, you're already kind of somewhat versatile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
targets to look for and all that. And like for me, when I fished the bass boat stuff for a long while, I mean that's what I grew up doing. When I got into kayaking, it took me a little while to adjust, to kind of get back into like figuring out some fish, and then once I got into it and got to doing it more, there was a lot of boat ramps that I put in at that I would run right out of there with a bass boat and stupidly not fish around there. And
not even think twice about it.
Yeah. And, and now you're like, now I put in the bass boat sometimes at some of these ramps and I don't even fire the motor up yet. I'm already fishing. I'm like,
exactly.
I know some spots here, but yeah, I mean, and the camaraderie thing, like say, I think it depends on where you're at, what lakes and what clubs you fish and all that. Cause it is there for the kayak side. It's big, but it's also, if you just go out and just go fishing with a couple buddies, like it's different because, if you a couple y'all are in the boat, that's fine. But if you got like 3 or 4 buddies with boats, y'all kind of blast off and go your separate ways, And a kayak, most of the time you're around each other fishing and chatting and playing around and joking. But for me, like the camaraderie for us was like when we fished big tournaments, it was always at blast off.
Yeah,
everybody talked and joked and hung out and had a good time. But like I say, the kayaking, it is a little different. Like it's a little more, it seems like it's a little more like camaraderie there with everybody just talking and hanging out. Yeah, it is. Everybody has a good time. So, but man, let's talk a little bit about the dugout tournament that's coming up. We come down there and got to meet all you guys and we've talked over the phone and emails and all this, but to actually sit down and shake hands, and we've met several times from the classic diecast, all that stuff. But to get down there and talk and just actually sit down and talk fishing and see what all dugout does, man, it was just really impressive, the operation that Jamie has down there.
It definitely is, and we appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys coming down to actually look at it and then also pick up the kayaks from there. So
yeah,
and a lot. So.
And we get a lot of questions now, emails and stuff like that about dugout bait, from our video. Just like people didn't realize like the operation he had, and a lot of people want to deal with him now because they realize that he's actually supporting the fishing industry, not just the kayak side. It's a fishing industry as in a whole, So a lot of people enjoyed that. So, but let's talk about the dugout tournament. I mean, there's a lot of big things he's doing with this event, and it's different than a lot. I mean, it goes by the inches. It still goes by your 5 best fish, all that stuff.
Yep.
But, like, just the giveaway stuff that he's doing in these events, like, anybody can be a winner. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So last year was the first year that they did the online series, and last year the states were very limited as far as number goes. But this year they've opened up to Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And this tournament series is going to be from like October 1st to October 31st. But you have October, November, and December. Mm-hmm. And then from those 3, there's going to be a championship in January, and it's going to be a random draw lake. So at the end of each week, if you're what they do is from the 1st until the following Sunday, which will be the 10th of October, the first person or the person that sits in first place will automatically get a slot at the championship. Now, at the end of the month, the winner of the actual month-long tournament will also get a slot for that. So more or less, the top 5 at the end of the month will you'll get qualified for that championship in January. So, of course, like you said, it's the 5 fish, 12-inch minimum, all public waters. But the giveaways that he's kind of introduced to this, especially based off of last year, was every single week there was 25 winners. And it wasn't like the first 25 of each week won something. It was a random draw of every single angler in there. And it was just different sponsors from each week rolled over. And it wasn't one week. I mean, it was every single Sunday during the live that they did. They would give away 25 guys, and they would give away something. Anywhere from some of the big bite stuff, some of the fish head, some Z-Man, just kind of a wide variety of stuff. They did Dakota lithium battery that they gave away. They also gave away a Shimano Tranx reel. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that they do in the weekly giveaways that you won't see in every other tournament.
Yeah.
And with it being a random draw, I mean, it really opens up the ability for anybody to win. And it's not like one bait that you win. I mean, you win anywhere from 3 to 5 baits, depending on the bait itself, when you do win something. So whenever they do that 25 drawing, it's not like one person's going to get one item. A lot of times it's got a value of anywhere from like $15 to $25 on it.
Mm.
So just right off the rip, I mean, your buy-in's $30, and you can win multiple times throughout the month. So it's not like it's just one time and it's done.
Yeah. And I
So
like the picking the the first week winner because it what it does, it keeps them sandbagging. You know what I mean? Like,
exa- yes,
so everybody's trying to hurry up and clinch that spot real quick. You know what I mean? So everybody's gonna be out there and trying to get that spot really quick and put all their fish up on the board. Now, as the month goes on, you might have a little bit more of it. You know what I mean? Towards
yeah,
the end, but I like that first week where you could qualify right there. You know what I mean, for the
yeah,
top fish. So, and it keeps you'll have some guys that's gonna go out and catch an easy limited 20 inches fish. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But I mean, sometimes on those month longs, it takes a guy a month long to get all 20 inches. You know,
exactly.
so
And with it being so much open water, I know there was like a much broader spectrum as far as the fishing from Alabama to Florida and Georgia. A lot of guys are like, I mean, even with like Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, there's big bass everywhere.
mm,
I know you guys are in Virginia, but you guys are fairly close to North Carolina,
yeah,
and there's good fishing down there. Um, but one of the flip sides to that is that just about anywhere you go, if you get a solid stringer of 20-inch fish, I mean that's a good bag.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I know in Georgia last year, those couple of months, it was over 100 inches that took first place. But I mean, like you said, it could be 1 week and you can catch all 20s, or it could take you all month. But it's definitely going to be putting in the time for sure. I mean, we're going to be fishing against a lot of hammers out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some big fish down south, and there's some daggone good fishermen down south. And they know how to catch them. So,
Yeah.
looking forward to that. I mean, they're on there already advertising, giving away an Abu Garcia reel. You know,
Yep.
so I mean, that I was just like, man, these guys are giving away some good stuff. And like say, then you got a championship, which that one ain't going to be month long. That's actually like say in person at a random lake.
Yep.
Is it going to be a random state, or is it going to be a particular state? How are we going to do that? Or
That I'm not positive yet.
okay,
That is nothing that they've kind of released to talk about.
mm-hmm.
I would imagine that they may, if it were me looking at it, I would imagine that they're going to pick a couple of different lakes in this region,
Mm-hmm.
Not in Georgia, but just throughout the states. Pick a few lakes that are key lakes for those areas, and then do a random drawing based off of those lakes.
Yeah,
So I think it would still be in that area.
gotcha. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I hope we make it to the
Yeah,
regional, but
yeah, that would be nice.
yeah. So, but no, man, that was didn't know nothing about it. Got to talking to Jamie about it, and I went ahead and got signed up. I think James is gonna get signed up this week, and I know I won't be able to start it. I think it starts Friday, right? Is that the first
Yes,
day of it? So
start Friday.
Yep. So start, and what they can sign, is it the 10th is the last day they can sign up of October 10th?
I want to say yes, but I did not check to see the cutoff. As soon as it opened up, I went ahead and I registered for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's $30. I prefer the month long series on a lot of the tournaments, anyways, just because I am limited to certain days that I can fish.
Yeah.
So for something like that, that was a no brainer for me.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I read somewhere Steve Owens or somebody put it up. I think it was the 10th. I could be wrong, but check that. You know what I mean? But if you got time, just go ahead and sign up now and get it done. That way you don't forget. So.
Yeah, because I know Friday morning I'm going to be fishing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm gonna try to get it started early.
Yeah, I think we'll probably start. Me and James said we'll probably start. James might start a little earlier than me, but I'll be getting into it like Monday, starting that Monday and going into it. Start doing some fishing. So, but yeah,
Now,
just excited to get our feet wet, man. We're interested in fishing either a Hobie or the Bass Nation next year, depending on how our schedules and how certain events set up, and all that, and any changes that are made. So, just really get back into the tournament scene and get our feet wet again and just get to back to practicing measuring fish. And people don't understand, man. It's kind of like a science to it a little bit, like setting up your net right and
Oh yeah.
getting that right picture, you know what I mean, and setting your board up right. And so I want to get back into that routine because you can waste a lot of time sitting there trying to get one picture of a fish, So
Exactly. Yeah. And you talk about the Hobie tournaments next year. So that is something else with this online that you're gonna see the guys that have qualified for that Hobie BOS Series Championship when they come down and they fish, they'll actually be able to double dip and fish that tournament as well. So whichever month that is.
yeah,
So that's something else with any of the tournaments. I think Cast out of Tennessee, they've got some tournaments as well. So that allows, some of the guys from even out of these states that we have to still fish in that month if they're coming down for a weekend or for a week to pre-fish.
yeah.
So, but as far as getting back into the swing of things, measuring fish, man, that's like you said, it can be a science. Going from some of the other kayaks that I've used over to the Hobie, I like the fact that the Hobie has the H rails on top.
Yep.
Kind of helps keep the fish down. So
Yeah.
they got to jump a little bit higher to get out of there. That definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, I know people are going to get tired of hearing me saying this, but it's like I think the Hobie kind of rekindled my love for the kayak fishing again. Like I ain't lying,
really?
man. Yeah, dude. Like I didn't want to get out of it. Like when me and James went and fished the river right there near him or near the shop there, and like I just like how easy it is to pedal the boat. Like you do little kicks and you move so far. So like it's so simple. The way the boat is set up, like you can really rig them out, but if you don't want to,
Definitely.
you don't have to because you got so much stuff there already that it's usable. It's not like the boat's well thought out. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's we've built motor mounts for them. We've tested motors on them, but to actually sit down and fit, when you're going out testing, you're in it. You're checking stability. You're checking how well the boat handles the motor, and you're getting speeds, but you're not really sitting there thinking about the fishability of it, and like what all it can be done and organization and all that. Now that we're in it, I'm like, holy moly. Like, like just
Huge
a little
difference.
Yeah, just a little simple things like the rod storage up front, like where you get the rod tubes and all that stuff. Like that's just I don't know. We've been in a lot of different boats, and to be able to have that beside us and have so many rods beside us and the fishability, I don't know, man. I could go on forever about it. I'm just super excited about that boat.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's even like with the river, like you said, being able to lay those rods down in front of you, not have to worry about rods sticking about the back. You can really get in to some of the areas that you couldn't on the other boats with your rod sitting in the black pack or any of your boxes back there. So like you said, when you're testing it out and you're just making sure like the motor works, the speed, stability, everything's there. Actually getting comfortable in it, that's the difference.
Yeah. You don't, like just going into the simple things of sitting your chair up that's comfortable for you. And so when everybody brought their boats to us, they never really brought us the pedal drive system because we really didn't need it, And
oh, wow. Okay.
So we never tested that. So when we picked them up and took them out, that was legitimately the first time we've ever tested a 360 pedal drive system. So yeah, we were just like, couldn't get over it.
Awesome.
I know it's a lot of money, and a lot of people are like, man, yeah, well, you can have that $5,000 kayak. But I'm telling you, by the time that you do everything and then still have to paddle one, you know what I mean? Like, you can rig them all out with a motor and all that, but eventually it's going to come to a time where you don't want to use a motor. Like for you, Josh, you're set up to run about.
I'm going out, I know I'm restricted to time or I'm restricted to a certain area that I know I'm only going to cover so much water. I can get the same speed out of the trolling motor as I can just pedaling it, and I'm not killing myself.
Exactly.
So, it's easy to use, and I still love the XI3, but I would say probably 90 to 95% of the time, I end up just taking the drive. It's a matter of loading it up and going, and for me, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm still hands free for the most part as you fish, even with that drive.
Yeah. Yep. The only thing is, like I say, in your hands free, and you can do little tricks like with your shins. If you watch Christine Fisher videos, like using her shins to use the pedal drive to kick it a little bit, you know what I mean? Like while she's standing up. But like the only thing about it is like if you're standing up, and you're fishing down a bank, you got to sit back down to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's not a big. The boat's so stable and you sit so high, like it's not a big deal. It really isn't. So like, but yeah, we've had a good time in them so far. We slimed them up pretty good. We got we already released one video. Got another video going to come out, and then we're going to kind of get into some rigging videos and decking the boats out and all that. So, but
That'd be awesome.
But looking forward to that. So, but let's talk a little bit. Let's talk fishing. That's people. That's what a lot of people want to get on here. They want to talk. They want to listen to fishing and getting fishing tips and all that stuff. So, let's talk about. But a while back, was it last year or earlier this year? I can't remember. But didn't you catch some kind of record? Wasn't there like a record size largemouth or something? It was some kind of record you set, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a body of water record on the more or less the Chattahoochee here in Georgia, and our more or less GON. So it's Georgia Outdoor News. They have body of water records for certain lakes, certain rivers, and it's in between stretches or different areas. And that was earlier this year that I set that record.
Yeah.
And that was an 8-pound largemouth on the Chattahoochee.
Wow. I mean, and I remember a post saying that was your goal. You were trying to set the record.
Yes.
Or you was out trying to break that record, and you ended up doing it. Like.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a day for sure.
Or what was you doing when you went out with the purpose to do that?
So, more or less, there's key baits that I generally throw all the time. But I mean, I've caught bass that are 7.5 to that 8-pound range on a wacky rig. I think it's based off of the lake that you're fishing and the vegetation that they're used to eating. And I will switch up and throw bigger baits certain times a year. And I like to throw a big swim bait, but sometimes you have to dial it down or do something a little bit different. And that day I had intentions because of that area. They feed on crawl and bait fish and stuff like that. And the bait that I was actually using it's like a jig, but it's the Chase Baits mud bug. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you guys have seen that or not.
No,
but it resembles more or less a jig, but instead of the skirt, it literally looks like a crawfish. And for me, when you constantly see a jig or you constantly see a worm or anything like that, if you can get something as realistic as possible, that's what I like throwing. That's why with my swim baits, the big swim baits, I want something that resembles what the fish are in there. I'm not going to go to a pond and throw most of the time like a 6 to 8 inch, or even, let's just call it an 8-inch gizzard shad. I'm not going to throw that on a pond. I'm not going to throw a shad on a pond. I'm going to throw some type of brim or a crappie or something like that, something that imitates the bait that are actually in the water that they're feeding on, baby bass. Now, I know a lot of people like to say, hey, this is a little bit different. It looks different. They're not used to it. They'll eat it. And I'm not saying that they won't. That's just not my experience. Most of the time I find that the best thing for me is what imitates the fish the most.
Yeah.
That they're going to be feeding on. So, but yeah, we went out, and my friend Billy Slayton, he was actually there fishing with me, and we pulled up to an area, and he missed a fish twice in the hole, and he said, look, there's a big fish there. I can't get it. So I pulled over beside him. I tossed that in there and pulled it out. I mean, I was maybe 10 to 12 feet from the fish, but the water was so muddy you couldn't see it. But it was probably in 4 foot of water, maybe 5, if that, just up underneath the limb.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. It was an experience to say the least, but I know that there's bigger fish there. So I want to go there and try to break that record as well.
Yeah. That's a friend right there. And I bet you he was kind of like, oh my gosh, like.
Well, and the bad thing is I had just broke off a smaller one of those baits. And that was actually we're limited to the times that we can go out there. And because, if you spend 2.5 hours driving, you get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. You fish as long as you can, but you got a 2.5 hour drive back.
Yeah.
So time is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to work it all out so you ain't gone like till midnight. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
trying to get back and all that. Yeah, I can understand that. That's kind of like me with Bugs Island. I love Bugs Island. I don't get the opportunity to go all the time. That's why I'm hoping with this tournament it'll encourage me to go, like make the time to go.
Yeah.
But like I say, I love Bugs Island. It's about a 2-hour drive for me to get down there from my house. Now, from the shop, there's some other water that's not far from the shop. That's right there because our shop ain't far from North Carolina border. So there's a few bodies of water down there that we're going to be fishing more of. But it fishes like a lake should fish. You know, you pull up on a point, throw a Carolina rig, more likely you're going to catch fish there. You know, like when they're setting up in the summertime. Like Swim Mountain Lake, you pull up on a point, you'll run 20 points, and then all of a sudden, boom, you catch one. It's just like you got to cover so much water at Smith. But like bugs, it's like you can just stack them up and load them up quick, you know, depending on the time of the year and all that stuff. But yeah, I love lakes like that where you know you can kind of go to, especially if it's a little bit of a drive and catch some good ones. And it's always just it's like a feeling of getting on a new body of water. I don't know what it is, but but anyways, enough about Bugs Island. It's making me want to go fishing now. So, but no, I mean, like I say, that's awesome. You get into. You talk about you like throwing big swim baits and all that. I mean, do you throw big swim baits in the fall, or is that mainly like a spring thing for you?
Last year was probably the first time I really started buying big swim baits, and I started throwing them back in the spring. But May, June timeframe, I ended up catching, and it wasn't nothing major, probably 2.5, 3 pound largemouth on a swim bait, one of the Tater Hog Customs. And May timeframe, I think that for us down here, I mean, it's warm, fairly warm, but it's not dead of summer. But I will still throw a large swim bait more or less from spring to fall. I don't really see a reason in some lakes that we have around here that you can't throw a big swim bait, just because these ponds you've got certain vegetation, they're feeding on small fish, and especially if the fish is overpopulated with that 8 to 10 inch largemouth.
Yeah.
Which we have a few ponds around here that are just loaded with just that size. I mean, you know that they're feeding. And whenever you catch them in the summertime and they've got another fish in their mouth, you know that they're still feeding on big fish. And some of our lakes and ponds in this area, the deepest parts of them are 15 foot. So they'll sit in the grass and they'll wait on some of the smaller bait fish to come by and they'll still hit them. So for me, I enjoy throwing a big swim bait most of the time. And I'll generally take one with me every time we go out, just because you never know. I actually earlier this year, I guess it was probably mid-June. It was right before, I guess, the Classic out in Texas. Get out there, was throwing just a wacky rig Cinco up against the banks, have one break off immediately, which was surprising because as soon as it hit the water, I got to set the hook and it snaps. So the next rod that was right beside me was my swim bait rod. So I just picked it up immediately and cast it over there. And it came up and crushed it. So for me, it was maybe more of a reaction bite, but up on the banks next to logs, like I like to throw my swim baits next to big laydowns. I feel that's a great chance to really pull one out and get one.
Yeah. Yeah, I fell in love with it. I started throwing it more. I was watching a friend of mine's YouTube video, Dude Let's Fish with Shannon Wheeler, and he got to throwing it. I was like, man, we got to pick some of these up. You know, and I know they've been around for a while, but for us, it's kind of getting into it. Started picking it up, throwing it. What got me hooked was the follows, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to find out how big a fish is in your area, throw that daggone swim bait. You know, like you might not catch them all. And a lot of them might not bite. But when, you know, I've hung one that was a monster. I don't know how big it was. You know, you can always say that. But I can tell you this, it was a huge fish. And me and another boater watched that thing jump for I don't know how long under the dock with that swim bait still in its mouth after he broke my line. And he was a monster, you know. And I'm like, oh, God, I was so sick. But
how much was the swim bait?
As you know, it was a meg draft, you know. So it wasn't a.
Okay.
If it was a tater hog or something, I'd still be in depression right now.
Yeah, at least it wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah, I'd be going through therapy right now if it was a tater hog or something like that. But anyways, so I ended up running up to because that was the last one I had in that color. ran up and bought 2 or 3 more to tackle store that was on the lake there, and went back down and started fishing. But like, I think it was a day before, weekend before that, I was out with Chris and I caught one that was about 5 pounds, and I'm like, I was hooked then, just the way they hit it.
Yeah.
All of that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I started getting followers, and then I don't know, I just built a confidence up in throwing it. So now I'm like, I'm ready for like,
Fall time.
fall, spring, all that stuff. I'm gonna throw that a lot more, and like say, and I'm trying to get more into the glide bait thing. Like, it's kind of in that swim bait, but kind of not. I don't know how you explain it. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit different deal. But I got some glide baits, getting kind of into that, and we got 2 full setups for it. But I don't know, man. That's a big bait you're throwing out there.
Yeah, it is. You got to have a good rod and a good reel, and good line as well. But the glide bait, it is a different game, but kind of the same thing. I mean, the followers that come out just looking. I mean, they're so focused on that, they're not looking at anything else.
Yeah, and it's like, you feel like a dummy for throwing something that big sometimes. Like where you're throwing it at, but then you're like, man, it could You look at what a 5-pounder eats.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, I don't know tell how many 5-pounders you could catch off that. But, if a 5-pounder isn't going to eat it, an 8+ is going to eat it with no problem either, So,
yeah. Well, in here, we've got some local reservoirs, and the one in Canton pulled up and had my rig ready to go, fixing to go in the water. And this older gentleman comes up, and he's looking at it, and he sees one of my rods with the swim bait on it. And he's like, what do you expect to catch with that? And it's like, well, big bass eat big baits. They have to.
Yeah.
How do you think they get so big? I mean, they're not just constantly feeding on small fish.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it does. A lot of people give you that weird look.
You look at a gizzard shad.
Yeah.
I mean, look how big those are. And I've watched bass come up and crush a school of them.
Yeah.
And they're huge.
And Lake Allatoona is known as the Dead Sea around here to a lot of people. But I think it was earlier this spring or winter had just finished up, and a guy had caught just over a 9-pound largemouth back in one of the creeks. And a lot of people are like, it's hard to get those big ones to bite there. And I mean, it is at any large major lake, but the gizzard shad there, when you see them, you pull up into a creek, or I've even hooked them with a spoon using a jigging spoon and pull up one that's 10 inches long. It's like, how? I mean, but something's feeding on them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I look at it like this, too. Like you say, you're talking about catching a 10-inch fish on a huge spoon. Chris, how many times we've been on some out lake fishing and throw a mag 2 or old monster and catch a 10-inch, 11-inch, 12-inch bass?
Oh, lots of times.
Or a warmouth, one of those little perch. You know what I mean? Like a warmouth or whatever they call them. And I mean, I'm like, what are you thinking? There's no way you can eat this thing. It's way longer than you. So, if those little perch will eat something that's way bigger than them, a bass is definitely. I mean, bass have killed themselves trying to eat a perch that they cannot swallow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So.
Oh, we went. There's the Cast is a company, Cast Lure Company, and they've got the OG. They've got a 40 grain series, and it's a very unique bait. But there's been a lot of hype about it around here on Lake Lanier, and I took it to the river just to see. And we're standing at the dock, and I'm casting before we're all ready to go in the river. And an 8 to 10 inch largemouth hits the bait, and the bait's at least 8 inches. I mean, it's like, pull it up, and I'm like, why are you even trying? I mean, it makes no sense. So, happens all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Chris, you say we got a question?
Yeah, Chris Cabral said he had a guy yesterday caught a 10-pounder with a 1 or 2-pounder in his mouth.
Really? Holy moly. And that fish had a 1 or 2-pounder and it was still eating.
Still hungry.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nope.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Chris, we got anything else that's come across there? Or anybody say anything?
A little quiet.
Just been a little quiet tonight. Yeah, I think a disturbing feed has been keeping. What's YouTube like?
It seems to be doing all right.
Yeah.
Facebook keeps coming with this little message: frame rate too low.
Oh, that's Facebook for you.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's kind of get into a little segment here, Josh. This is something we normally do. Like we try to stay within, pick up. We're going into fall. We're getting into that fall transition. You wake up in the morning, it's cool outside. The air's crisp. You know what I mean? You can just smell. It just smells like bass fishing. is in the
Yeah.
air, you know. So, but we always do a fall segment or a tackle in-depth segment, shall we say, and it's sponsored by Bob's at the Creek Outfitters, and we just wanted to go in and talk fall fishing. What is your go-to? You can give me your top 3 or top 5 because I know this can be kind of a junk fishing transition right now. You know, we're in late summer, late summer, early fall transition here. What are your go-to baits? Let's do your top 5 go-to baits that you're gonna have in a boat this time of year.
First thing is going to be a top water. That's going to be, and the biggest one for me is the Evergreen SB. I throw a 105 and a 125. Just the size itself. Sometimes I'll throw the 7.7, I think is what it is.
Mm.
But my go-to is going to be a 105. That for me, because the fish they're chasing shad, they're pushing them back into these pockets, up onto the reef point poles, and just some of your main points and lakes. So that's going to be my automatic go-to, is because they're always feeding top right now.
Yeah.
My second one is going to be an underspin, and I'm going to throw a fish head underspin. Depending on the lake itself, I'll either throw the full size fish head underspin, like a quarter or a 3/8 ounce, just to get a little bit deeper. But if they're up a little bit shallower, then I'll throw a 3/16 ounce. But if I get to an area like Lake Alatoona where the bait fish are a lot smaller, I pick up the finesse underspin. And the only difference point is it just has a short shank hook on it. So I can put that 2.8-inch Kitex on like and I'm talking about 1.5 to 2 inches is the size that they feed on majority of the time in the fall. I'd say a jig. That's probably going to be my number 3, and it's either going to be like the Spotty by trying to think, Picasso,
Mm-hmm.
tungsten jig, and their football head, I believe, is a 4/0 hook, and the regular round ball jig head is a 3/0 hook, and it's just the perfect little small profile. So I like throwing those as well. Probably something like a Seville or any other type of swim bait, larger swim bait. The Seville does well with spotted bass. That's and most of them I'll throw the sinking.
Yeah.
From time to time I'll throw the floating, but most of the time I'll throw the sinking just to keep it just under the surface. Not necessarily burn it, but kind of burn it and twitch it, change up the rate a little bit, make it do a couple different things. And then probably a crankbait. Crankbait's probably going to be my next go-to.
There's two key elements. You know what I mean? Like to you can hone in on. You can, like I say, you talking about a jig bite earlier. You know, they're still feeding heavily on crawfish right now, and you can find them in the backs of the creeks where some of them crawfish are. I mean, crawfish are everywhere in the body of water, but it seems like sometimes I can get in the back of a creek because they're there, they're chasing bait fish. But you can also flip that jig around because a lot of times a fish is going to want to eat a crawfish over a shad. A lot of times, for one, it's not a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the amount of protein that they get out of that, like they'll get way more out of one crawfish than they would eating 5 or 6 shad, So
exactly.
They'll chase that. But getting to the fish heads, what I know you're talking about, you like throwing a contact. Is there anything else you like throwing on a fish head as well?
I will put like the little Spanky, the net bait, on there.
Mm.
Sometimes the Strike King, but my go-to is just Kitech.
Yeah.
The softer plastic, it's got a lot more action to it. I like the material. I know that it's not. A lot of people don't like it because it's usually 1 or 2 fish and that's it. And that's the difference between like the little Spanky and the Strike King. Because it's a huge difference in the material.
Yeah.
So,
but it always seems like that softer material. I know, like, just for me, like, I love flipping missile baits. I love flipping a D-bomb or destroyer. When it comes to finesse worms, too, I like throwing a robo worm. You know what I mean? But it seems like those softer baits loaded with salt, they tear up easy, but they catch, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like you catch a lot more fish to me. You know what I mean? Off of baits like that. That's kind of like a Gary Amagato Cinco. It's soft, salty. You catch a lot of fish off of it. But kind of going into your fish head setup, and then also like your jigs and all that. What is let's start with your your topwater bait actually first. What is your main setup with that, with your rod line and your reel setup?
So on that one, I am throwing a St. Croix. It's the Legend Tournament Series. It's going to be a 7-1 or 7-2 medium. And then the other rod that I actually like to use with it is a 610 medium light. That medium light is my jerkbait rod, but I love it for that 105 for the top water. It allows the rod to do most of the work. Line I'll use is 12-pound mono. And as far as the reel goes, I'm a Shimano fan. I'm going to use that Corrado MGL 70 series most of the time with that setup, with that 610 setup with a medium light.
Yeah. And now getting into your fish head setup, because I know that's similar to, kind of like a spinnerbait deal to me, you know what I mean? Or throwing like a regular, like say, without even throwing it on a fish head, like a regular Kitech on a ball head, you throw sometimes. Is that similar? Is that kind of the same setup? You're using like a medium heavy rod, or what's your setup with that?
Most of the time, if I'm throwing like a 3/16 or a quarter, anything heavier than a quarter, I will step up to a medium heavy. But if I'm throwing that 3/16, I actually like to stay with a medium.
Mm-hmm.
And on the finesse series, of course, I've got the smaller hooks, so a lot sharper. And it kind of reminds me, you think how heavy the wire or the actual hook is. If it's a heavy duty hook, you want something to plow it into them. If not, I mean, you don't have to set a lot of it into them. So I like to throw that 3/16 ounce with a 3.3 Kitech on a medium spinning reel. Yeah. That's just me. I'll throw it with. I just recently changed over to the Shimano Stratic, but I've been using the Nasi. That's what I've been using.
Gotcha.
So, and I'll use like a 15-pound braid with a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. Generally using the Cigar Gold or even the Red Label, just as my leader, and run an 8-foot leader.
Yeah.
Especially near clear water, and then just the sheer fact of having that leader, I think, makes a big difference. But if I step up and I'm throwing a 3/8 ounce or even a ½ ounce underspin, dragging it on the bottom, I'll switch up and I'm throwing a Legend series on that as well, medium heavy, like a 7.2. And the line is going to be 15-pound, and that's fluorocarbon. And I run that straight fluorocarbon on my baitcaster.
Yeah. 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 No, that's something I really want to start getting into more, is throwing more of these underspins and stuff like that during the fall. Jason Hensley, he did really well down at Chickamauga with an underspin on some schooling fish that we all stumbled across. And the more I sit back and thought, because I was throwing little swim baits and catching fish, and I was catching and schooling fish, but I knew the fish were there, but I didn't make the changes to where they went to. You know what I mean? Like if they pulled off or whatever. And now I think this year, me and James was talking, I said, I think I want to get more into fishing underspins. I just never fished them. Like this time of year, I'm throwing a spinnerbait. If I want to do something like that, all right, I want to throw a spinnerbait. But I think it comes a time when, like say you need that smaller profile. You can't get that out of a spinnerbait. You can throw a finesse spinnerbait.
Yeah.
But it seems like that fish, like the fish heads or any kind of underspin, you kind of get that. It's just different. You know what I mean? It gives them something a little bit different to look at.
It is, and that's why that's probably, as far as underspins go, that's the only one I'm going to throw. The profile on it's great, the weight on it's great, and I can burn it and it sits straight. It's not just rotating over itself.
Yeah.
But they've got a few different underspins in a sense of like a hammer spin, and more or less it looks like a jig head, but it has a micro blade on the bottom of it. So something a little bit different. Once again, still has a little bit of flash. But the underspin for me, I literally throw it year round. There's not a time that I will not throw that. And I'll fish at rivers, I'll fish at ponds, and then your main lakes. Like yesterday on Lanier, I was fishing at Lanier. Water temps were, I think, around 78, main lake, somewhere on there. And I'll still throw it. Dead of summer, I'm still going to throw it. Now, I may pick different areas of where I'm going to throw it, but I will always throw it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, that's kind of one of them deals. It's a big confidence bait. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
once you build that confidence up to it, a lot of people pick certain baits at those certain times of the year, and I'm guilty for that. You know what I mean? Like I know, like all right, well this time of year I'm only gonna throw this bait. I don't
yeah,
catch nothing. It don't seem like I catch nothing. I got other things that I catch them off of. But like say, there's always a couple baits that you always need to have tied on all year long. And it's different for everybody. You know what I mean? Some people are shaky head. Some people's a drop shot. Like for you, instance, it's a underspin.
yeah,
Um, but I think, like you said, that's a bait that they might only see certain times a year because people are only throwing it in the fall or early spring. But for you, you're able to adjust and make it work all year long.
yeah. Oh, well, I mean, and it's a matter of changing your depth really, and
Mm-hmm.
changing your weight. I mean, if you know that they're sitting on the bottom in a brush pile, throw a heavier weight. I mean, if you know they're sitting on the banks in the grass, pick up a lighter weight if you want to.
Yeah,
And that's what I've done. But I think the easiest thing for me was transitioning, looking at, and I think that where the bass boat plays a role in that. That helps me fishing out of the back of someone's bass boat.
yeah,
Kind of figure out, okay, well these guys are fishing main lake. Like what am I gonna do sitting in 50 foot of water and they're throwing stuff in a brush pile at
yeah.
40 foot of water? Um, I mean, I could drag a shaky head or a jig right beside them, but if that's what they're doing, I need to do something different.
Exactly. And like say in the kayaking side, some of us, man, we get on top of people. It's just
Yeah,
nature of the beast how it is in a kayak tournament because, like I say, not everybody's got that long. They can't get up and go and drive away. So you end up fishing the same spots with a lot of people.
oh yeah,
And it's always good to pay attention somewhat to what other people are doing and throwing so you can kind of be a little different and stumble
yeah,
across something different. And like I say, stuff like that, man, that's stuff that, it depends on where you're at. Sometimes you see a lot of people throwing underspins. I've been to places where I'm like, man, they're throwing underspin.
yeah,
And never throw it. You know what I
yep,
mean?
exactly.
But like I say, that's a good follow up bait. That's a good cleanup bait. Especially like I say, if you're looking around, people throwing worms and jigs and drop shots and crankbaits, that just gives something a little bit different, a little different presentation. So, we got Sid asked on just when we did the post earlier when we shared this, and Chris, I don't know, he might have asked on here, but it just can't. I just seen it on the thing earlier before we went
No, I
live.
haven't seen anybody that.
But Sid was asking, which we covered one on what your go to favorite baits for fall. But what is your favorite lake to fish?
Um, it's lake wise, it would have to be Lake Lanier. That would be my all time favorite. Even though Alatoona isn't my back door, and I love Alatoona, but there's something about the Lake Lanier spots. The more that I fish it, I mean, like even yesterday, I mean, there's just something different about it. It fishes different. It can be more challenging, but when you pull up to a spot and there's just blow ups all over the place, and you're pulling out 3 pound spots, that makes a huge difference. And I mean, guys were coming in with 5 pound spots yesterday.
Man,
That
Almighty.
yeah, that's not common on Lake Alatoona. You'll see them from time to time, and the biggest one I've got on Alatoona is 4 pounds. But to be able to go there and these guys are pulling up 5 pound spots consistently, that's what makes it a little bit different.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, it fishes completely different than Lake Alatoona, even though there's spots there, but it's because you've got blueback herring in Lanier and you don't, from what we know, in Alatoona.
yeah. Now, to having a herring lake, because there's rumors up here of some kind of lakes getting like that. Like that, there's been herring put in here. I don't know if it's true or not. This is what I hear from fishermen around here. But having a lake where it's mainly herring driven, blueback herring driven, how is it in a kayak chasing them? Because I know that they'll have points where they'll come up at certain times and start feeding. You can throw top
Yeah,
waters and jerk baits and all that stuff on them. But in a bass boat, you can run that,
yeah.
and you can run that pattern. You can about time them fish if you fish that lake all week long, but on a kayak, how do you do that? How do you manage that?
So a lot of the times, what I look at is I'm looking at the time of year, what the bait should be doing, what the bass should be doing. and then kind of look at the lake itself and say, okay, hey, if they're going to be focusing on blow throughs, I'm going to find a portion of the lake that I can hit from the kayak and hit as many blow throughs as possible. Now, I may not be able to put in and fish right there. I may have to go 2 miles up the lake to that area, but it's worth the travel. I may have to go further, but most of the time with Lanier, you've got a lot more areas a lot more boat ramps. So that's kind of how I look at it. If I know there's an area that's got quite a few brush piles that I know that I want to fish brush piles, and that's the style of fishing I'm going to do, then that's the areas that I put in at. And I kind of just work that and hope that the fish fall in that pattern and they make those moves. If I know I'm going to be there all day long, they may come a couple of times throughout the day. They may come up, feed, and then go back down in the brush piles and finding a good creek channel that is close by or a good main point lake that I know there's fish on. And those are the areas that I kind of look for when I'm in the kayak. Used to it was, okay, I wanted to be off a main lake and I wanted to be back in a creek that had a bunch of docks, and just year round that's what I was going to do. I was going to beat the banks and I was going to go back to creeks. But the more that I fish and the more that I see the fish in the different areas and where they're at, I'm looking more at, okay, where's there a dock, especially in the summertime, where's there's a dock that sits at 40 feet.
Yeah.
And I know that there's going to be fish staged up to it.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of look at it.
And with spots, I mean, they're a lot of times they're schooled up, right? I mean, I don't, except at the most probably when they're spawning that they really separate. But other than that, it seems like spots are always schooled up.
Yeah, we consider them like a wolf pack.
Yeah.
Especially in Lanier, that's a term you'll hear a lot is just wolf packs, because whenever you bring up one, there can be 6 to 8 others with it. And what they're doing is they're trying to rip that bait out of that fish's mouth.
Yeah.
It seems to be the craziest thing to me, but you could literally take a rod and lay it behind them with the same bait as they come up, and they will hit that bait right beside the boat. They're focused on the bait, and that's it.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. I like to get, I mean, we've got spots in Gaston that were placed there illegally, I believe. But in their Coosa River spots, just all of a sudden the lake exploded with spots, and they're Coosa River spots. But they're just mean. They're mean fish, man.
Yeah.
And for their size, how mean they are. I know smallmouth are mean fish, but for their size, a spot, man, they are, whew. I mean, you put them in a live well, and they just about beat themselves to death in there,
Yeah.
That's just crazy how mean those fish are. But, Chris, you said we got a question, bud?
Yeah, Chris wants to know, what advice would you give a first-timer back of the boat angler in a tournament?
For the first time, I would say be prepared to fish extremely slow. And for me, it was either a shaky head, some type of worm that I could throw slow back behind them, and keep your rods kind of minimum, like probably 4 to 5 rods most. I mean, you can take more rods, but keep in mind that he may go out in the middle of the lake and you may have to drag a jig or throw a drop shot, one of the two, but find something that you're comfortable with. And a shaky head is one of those that you can throw out the back of the boat. And most of the time, almost every tournament that I fished this year, other than one, they all beat the banks. And that was from the first tournament, except for, well, I take it back, February, our first tournament, he fished deep, but we were next to the banks and just in a deep pocket. But a worm is an always good go-to. You can just follow it behind them regardless of what they're throwing and throw a shaky head. And other than that, I mean, I would say that's probably the best advice as far as fishing wise. But keep in mind also, from being as a co-angler, what you bring on the boat, what you take off of the boat, things like that. It's their boat. Unless you're like with the MLF side of things, he's fishing against others, I'm fishing against others, and I want to make sure that, one, I wasn't in his way, I was as helpful as possible, and that my gear was completely out of his way, so that he could work in a sense on his boat as he normally would. I didn't want rods thrown out. Try to keep them as small area as possible, and the same thing with the baits. if I get up, do what I need to do, put everything back up immediately kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's his boat, regardless on, yes, we're both fishing the tournament. We're both fishing against others. We're not fishing against each other. But at the same time, I mean, he's the captain,
Yep.
more or less. So be courteous of him, and always be willing to throw in some gas money for him. So
Exactly. I know when we were doing it, I did it as a boater for the BFLs, and I've heard stories from other guys that went as co-anglers, you know, and the thing, just having non-boaters with us was, you know, don't bring a lot of rods, for one, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times, you know, the guy up front, he can spread his rods out. As a co-angler, you're kind of bunching them up, putting on one pile, you're getting tangled up, you're just keep it as minimum as possible. No more than 5 is what I tell people, but I know you can bring more. Some people bring more, and that's fine. But I always, you know, if I fish with somebody else in a club, I always try to keep it down to like 5, you know?
Yeah.
And tackle bag, you can buy some giant tackle bags out there, but don't do that.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, bring in a bag. It's kind of like, and you can, I don't know how they do them now because COVID and all that stuff. I haven't fished a BFL in a while, but it used to, you had your meetups at the Walmart or, I don't know where they do them now. Ours used to be at a Walmart. And when it was FLW, and you know, they do the pairing. You could talk to your boater or your co-angler or whatever, and they send you their number. They send you, you know, your boat number, all that stuff, and you can kind of get an idea. Hey, what do you think we're going to be doing? You know, can I bring this and that? Someone will answer you, someone won't, because they don't know who you're partnering with. You know what I mean? Who you've been practicing all week with. So.
Exactly.
But someone might say, "Hey, bring a Carolina rig, a fluke, and a shaky head," and that's, you know, should be good there.
Be good.
Yeah. So I mean, communication's key when you're fishing those as well. Just kind of find out what a roundabout you're going to do, because you don't want to bring deep crankbaits and stuff to fish really deep all the time, or big heavy baits and jigs and stuff. And then all of a sudden you're up there flipping pads or. You know what I mean? So you kind of got to just kind of idea what you're doing. Like I said, if you get a small box, but if you got at least a shaky head on, like Josh said, you can just about catch fish anywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, when I seen some of the guys unloading yesterday, I mean, there was a guy that if it wasn't 10 rides, I'd have paid you $100. I mean, literally, he had 2 hands around these rides, pulling them out of the boat. And it's like, as a boater, I'm sure that guy was stressed out, because I mean, something as small as, hey, you accidentally spilt something on his boat may just send him into a downward spiral for the rest of the day, and he's just he's done. He can't fish. He's too focused on what you did to his boat.
Yeah.
Just be courteous of the boat, because it's expensive. But I mean, and even if it's not expensive, even if it's a cheap one, that may be all he can afford, or maybe all that he cares to afford, because he knows that he's gonna be fishing with co-anglers.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, and don't bring fish dyes.
Oh Jesus.
Or lure dyes. I mean, I've heard some horror stories. I've done it in my own boat. You know what I mean? But like, I never, when I fish with a co-angler, I never bring any kind of dipping dye or nothing like that. I'm like, you know, you spill it. You can get them markers. That might be okay. But like the dipping dye, no, I don't ever mess with that stuff on somebody else's boat. I've actually dyed my whole foot during a tournament one time. I was on my own boat, thankfully, and tipped it over. Chartreuse, had flip-flops on. Man. And from my ankle all the way down to my whole foot, it just spilled. And my whole daggone foot was chartreuse for a good 2 or 3 days.
Oh, man.
And I smell like garlic. So I was like, God almighty.
I had one pop in a trunk.
Gosh.
I'd left it there in a container, and it was JJ's Magic.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
That day almost. So the car was hotter than that, sitting outside on the pavement all day long. And I just smelled garlic when I got in my car, and I couldn't find anything in my car. And then I realized that I left my tackle bag in my trunk.
Oh, man.
And I opened it up, and it was the worst smell ever in that car. So it was like, yep, it's time for a new car.
Yeah,
there's no getting that out. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. JJ's Magic is strong. Like, that is a strong smell.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's great stuff.
It's really good stuff. but it's strong, boy. Whew. But
when it disappears on itself,
yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But Chris, we got anything else? Any comments for Josh or anything like that, bud? All right. Well, Josh, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man, and talking with us, and talking about the dugout event, talking about fish. We talked about the fall techniques and going into depth with some fish head stuff. If guys, some of you may not know, Josh, you actually work. You have a full-time job, but you also help fish heads out as well.
that is correct. Yep.
So Josh introduced us down at ICAST to more that they do as well, the custom shirts and hats and all that stuff as well, which we have on our website, OneObjectiveBF.com. But also, the whole line of fish heads. I just knew fish heads as just the underspin, but y'all got more to offer too than just the underspin.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
We've got a primal vibe, which is like a chatterbait. We've got a V3, which is like a Damiki style rig. The V-Lock is what I use on my umbrella rig. That's the only one I'll use on my umbrella rig. We have a stand-up fish head. There's a couple of different ones there that a lot of people like to use. And then we even have the scrounger that some people still love to throw a scrounger. I like throwing it. It's not a confidence bait for me, but we get a lot of people that love throwing them.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, you guys got a lot to offer. Make sure what is it? Is it fishheads.com? What is y'all's, how can they find you?
Fishheadspin.com.
Yeah.
Social media, of course, is fishhead. And a lot of times the easiest way is just put in fishhead spin on either social media from Instagram or Facebook. And that's the easiest way. And then our clothing and hat side is fishhead threads. So it's fishheadthreads.com.
Okay. All right, so make sure y'all go check that out, and I'll try to remember to add that into the links below on YouTube and on Facebook at some point tonight or tomorrow morning, so you guys could just find it easier. So, but Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to call us, man, and going over everything, and look forward to working with you guys some more, and maybe catching up and doing some fishing soon. And also, good luck to you in the month-long, bud.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you guys for having me. And we'd definitely love to see as many people fish the online series. Like I said, it's multiple states. They've opened up a lot more states. So you guys just jump on and fish them. So.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, Josh. You have a good weekend, or good week, and good weekend, man.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Did it sound kind of like, was Skype acting just like?
Yeah, a little janky.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It wasn't on point today. Skype let us down.
I think the internet just went on point.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe the kids up there.
We're not playing Xbox and Fortnite already.
We might be. I don't know.
Getting them wins.
Yeah, Matthew's up there playing some Call of Duty or something. I don't know what's going on, man. I had to nip that in the butt when the show's going on. Yeah. But no, it's fun talking to Josh. I met up with Josh. Actually started talking to Josh. I always followed him on Facebook, or just as a Facebook friend or whatever. And then he reached out to us when he got his Hobies and was wanting to put some mounts on, and then got us in with Dugout. He talked with Dugout, and Josh helped us build the relationship with Jamie. And, we love working with Jamie and them at Dugout Baits, and he's just like one of our dealers for us. So it was a no-brainer for when we was getting in the Hobie line to actually go down there and talk to him. We got other dealers we like to deal with around here and all that, but like I say, just being able to get they just wasn't Hobie dealers, or they couldn't get the boats. It's hard to get boats right now. But we called Jamie up and he had them, and he's like, "You better pick them up now because they might not last long." So, but anyways, it was fun talking with Josh. Josh is a heck of a fisherman. You need to go in there and check him out on Facebook. Send him a friend request. I'm not sure if he'll accept it. I don't know how he is, but send him a friend request and just follow. Man, this guy catches some big fish, and I think he's one of them guys that's just kind of under the radar. He loves to get out and fish. He fishes a lot, like I say, at least once a week, and he puts his time in. So, great guy, really great people down there in Georgia, and love talking with them. So, Chris, was there anything else that was going on tonight like we need to address? Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that fastball on you with the question. I just seen it before we went live.
I never saw it.
Yeah, well, right before we went live, it was on that post I did earlier.
Oh, okay.
And I seen it, and I meant to send it to you, and then I was like, man, I better not forget this question. So, Chris was probably like, what the heck? I don't see this on here.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was talking before we got Josh on. I was getting distracted because I was hoping Skype was going to start working when it did. But anyways, like I said, we went racing this weekend with Matthew. I was telling everybody too, if you want to check it out, you can go to YouTube on our YouTube channel, Carter Racing Motorsports. It's kind of like behind the scenes of what we do for family fun, you know, and all that. So, but Matthew, we finally starting to get to where Matthew is confident in the kart, driving well, and our motor ain't strong right now. Like, we're in the works of getting a new motor. It was great for getting us going, but now we need more. You know, he's figuring out how to handle the kart and all that. But anyways, I always tell Matthew, try to be clean. I know we're not going to be as fast as other guys, but, you know, maybe some wrecks will happen in front of you and you'll pick up some positions and maybe get you a win or a top 3 finish, you know?
Yeah.
And the wrecks happened this weekend, and Matthew tried to shoot the gap. One of them, he had nowhere to go. The other one, he tried to thread the needle, and it closed up quick on him. And he ended up flipping the cart. But he's okay. The cart is tore up. I mean, the frame-wise, it's all good, but the body and all that, you know, just typical damage.
Used up.
Yeah, she's used up right now. So I think we're done for the year just because I got to get a motor done, and we're going to get some body work going. We're going to try to do the points thing next year with that as well. I got to figure out how I'm going to make all this work with fishing points and tournaments and go-kart racing points. It's going to be interesting next year. So, but anyways, if y'all want to go check it out.
Wants the details of the tournament series. He said Skype was glitching a little bit and he didn't catch it.
Oh, okay. Which for the oh man, why can't I dugout bait tournament series?
I believe, yeah.
So what they're doing is they're going to be doing. Actually, I thought he said Florida, but I don't see it on the thing there. But maybe it is. I just didn't write it down. So it's starting October 1st. It's going to be a month-long event. They're going to go from October 1st to January 2nd. Now, I
got it back up on the screen. So
okay, so they're having a championship, but I know they're having like 3 events, and then they're taking so many. Whoever's leading by the end of the first week will have a spot into the championship. And then, what did he say, Chris? They were taking at the end of the month. It was like, I can't remember how many he said, but at the end of the month, like they're taking so many spots. Maybe it was 5 spots or something like that out of each month that they're at the end of the month they're going to take for the championship, and they're going to do that each month. But they're also giving away random prize packs. What do you say, 25 or something like that? Yeah. So each week they're doing random drawings for like they're going to be giving away an Abu Garcia reel. I mean, I'm talking like some nice prize packs. You know, bags of tackle. You know, some worms and this and that, but also some really nice prizes as well. So you ain't going to be just this one guy that just wins everything at the end of the month. You know, there's going to be a guy that's going to get qualified the first week into this tournament. But anyways, it's right now from what I see, it's Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and he said Florida as well, which I don't have that. Does it say? I don't see it
it's not on the it's not on the little logo thing.
Yeah, it's not on the logo. Maybe they forgot to put it.
Yeah, later.
He might have. So
somebody from Florida is going to win it.
Probably, more than likely. Especially when we get to January and they're pulling up there spawning.
Well, December. I mean, they'll go to January 2nd, but
yeah,
they'll be winning.
Yeah, yeah. So
pretty sure.
I'm pretty confident in that too. Mark your words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we come back at the end of this show in January, I mean, our next show in January at some point, we're going to be like, Chris was right.
Yeah, Chris was right. Chris from Florida won.
Chris was right. So, but anyways, yeah, I think it's probably a good chance. But it's some big fish down in Georgia, too. You know what I mean? Like, I watched Fluke
So they're doing it, all your weight from October to January?
No, it's each individual month.
Each month, okay.
Yeah, so you're going to have October, November,
so you can
December.
win 2 months, basically. You can win all the months if you're good enough.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I mean, if you're hammer, you know what I mean. You're on them.
Yeah.
So, and then, but what happens is too. Let's say you're already let's just say I can't remember what the exact number. Let's say they're taking the top 5 from each month. Let's say them guys already pre-qualified.
Yeah.
Okay. And you go into October, they qualified, and you go into November, and those top 5 guys are already qualified. Well, they'll roll it down. From what I understand, the way they were talking when we were down there at dugout, it sounds like they're going to roll it down to the next position. You know what I mean? So, and then they're going to pick a random lake to do the championship at. So it's going to be an in-person event then. It ain't going to be a month-long event. So hopefully they pick it super far south, because if the championship is going to be somewhere in January, I don't want to be freezing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it don't need to be in North Carolina in January.
No.
Because we know what the weather is like around here sometimes. It'll be 19 degrees for the highs.
Yeah.
I ain't all about that life.
It needs to be
like Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, it needs to be Florida. We need to be down there in Florida. Or like, lower Georgia or something. I don't know, But anyways. I hope that answered your questions. I don't know if they got anything else.
They say you have to fish in North Carolina. That's where they're from.
Oh yeah. Yep. So you can fish North Carolina. And also if you're fishing, say you got another tournament going on, you can double dip. You know what I mean? So like the guys that are fishing the Hobie event coming up for the championship, you can double dip into this tournament as well. Yeah. So you can fish 2 tournaments at the same time. So, and it's a 5 fish limit. The best, I think it's 12-inch limit on the fish, and then your highest inches wins on like a basic tournament. So, but anyways, but other than that, guys, I don't really have nothing else to add. I mean, you guys make sure if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button, guys. We got some really good videos here and come out with some rigging. Me and James put our heads together the other day, and got some great ideas for some videos that's going to be coming up. We get a lot of questions with rigging. What if you do this? What if you do that? Will this work? Will this work? So we're going to try to put a lot of these in different series of videos, and answer some questions that a lot of people have asked about certain setups and stuff like that. So we got another fishing video. It's probably going to be coming out this week, and then I think James had something he was working on too, as well for I know what I did want to add. James is working on a video for the new trailers that came out by Missile Baits.
Okay.
The new jig trailers. So, dude, we about sold out of them as soon as we put them on the website. So make sure you go to OneObjectiveBF.com.
There's the pictures.
Is that the one a guy caught the big?
Yeah.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, there's another fish in its mouth. Yeah. Holy moly. Yeah, I know y'all can't see that right now.
Technically, that fish was 12 pounds.
Yeah.
So, no, that's a dumb question. If it does have a fish in it, do they count the fish?
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah, like if you bring that dude to the scale. Now, look, if you bring that dude to the scale and he hawks a shad out on the scale, they're going to take that shad and throw it off.
Okay, but if it's stuck in his mouth like that, they'll count that weight.
They'll count that,
I didn't know. When we fished tournaments, we never had it like it happen.
No. But like when you're fishing a tournament and you look down the live well and you see a gizzard shad sitting there and the fishing hot.
There's a tournament. There's my winning right there.
God darn, there's a couple ounces right there.
A couple ounces could have won it.
Yeah, or you open the live well and there's a pile load of crawfish in there. You're just like, geez, Louise, come on, man, keep it up, keep it in your system. So, but yeah,
he put her. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Thanks, Chris, for sharing that to us. I know we ain't got it on there on the thing right now, but go check out Chris Cabrillo's Facebook page. He's got some pictures of it up there. And I'll try to share it later on our Facebook page. So, but.
See you at the KBF Nationals?
No.
No.
We won't be there.
Okay.
We didn't fish nothing, and then and then setting a booth up.
Where is it?
It's going to be in Louisiana.
Oh, again.
Down there around Shreveport and all that stuff, I think is what it is, on the Red River and all them lakes. This is what we look at it as a business aspect side of things. You know what I mean? Like, it costs so much money for us to get down there, even if we're not fishing it and we just want to work like a booth.
Yeah.
Just the price of the booth and the amount of anglers that's going to be down there, we go in a hole.
You'd have to sell like $3,000 worth of stuff for it to be worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of guys that are down there fishing in tournaments ain't ready to spend that kind of money on a mount and rig it before the talk and all that stuff, to do all that. So, because like say, we sell other products as well for other companies like Yak Attack, which are going to be down there.
Yeah.
So all we can do is bring our mounts. We can't really set up and sell a bunch of different stuff, So, so anyways, I mean, we love to. And granted, hey, maybe one day we'll fish some stuff and try to qualify for the national championship again. But right now, I think our main focus is going to be either Hobie, Tournament of Champions. We want to try to either make that, and try to fish all the Hobie events and qualify, or try to make a Bassmasters Classic. we're gonna fish something to try to qualify for a big championship next year. So that's our goal. That's our plan. So we're just getting our feet wet with these couple month longs, getting back into it again, getting the swing of things, and then we're gonna hit it hard in 2022. So. But other than that, guys, I don't really have nothing else to add. Like I say, if you're listening on iTunes, please give us a rating, hopefully a 5-star rating. It just helps with the rating of our show and then pushing it a little bit more out there and all that stuff. So also, if you haven't subscribed to our our YouTube, make sure you do that. And like this video, share it with your friends. Guys, I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in with us tonight. I know that our shows are kind of erratic and never on a schedule. And we're hoping during the wintertime we'll get better with that just because it's not so crazy during the wintertime. But during spring, fall, summer, fall, we're fishing, man. It's hard to do it all the time. So, but other than that, guys, I'll talk to you later. Y'all have a great rest of your week.